Well, and to continue our discussion on assisted suicide, we're joined by Dr. Joseph Meaney. He's a senior fellow at the National Catholic Bioethics Center and previously served as the center's president. Dr. Meaney, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a great pleasure.
Let's reiterate why the Church believes what she does. What are the ethical and moral concerns surrounding assisted suicide?
Yeah, so the main issue is that we were created by God, and our gift is our life is a gift. And so we basically cannot just take our lives and throw it away. So we have a duty, a moral duty to preserve our health and our life, and to reject that gift is one of the worst things that one can do. So the Church has always been very clear that suicide is a terrible, terrible offense against God, also against our families. It's so devastating, and you hear about this in countries that have legalized euthanasia and assisted suicide, is that the family members realize that this precious time was robbed from them, that their loved ones are gone, and they feel guilty because, they either participated or they allowed it to happen. It's really horrific. So it's not only destructive for that person's own soul, but also for all of society and the way that we look at death. Death should be something that is prepared for, but it shouldn't be something that is, propelled, something that is pushed forward. We need to fight death. And that's what the medical profession should be.
Well, in many places, assisted suicide is now being euphemistically termed medical aid in dying. That language seems very alarming. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's certainly true that one does not want to aid a person in dying in terms of committing euthanasia, committing assisted suicide, et cetera. And that's the thing, is that from a Catholic perspective, one does want to attack suffering. One wants to help a person to, face death, in the best possible circumstances, and have reconciliation, all these wonderful things, but not to face death in the sense of like, we're going to be killing ourselves. We're going to be committing a terrible sin at that last possible moment.
As we saw in Canada, do you think that opposition to assisted suicide is growing? And is this also an opportunity then to change hearts and minds on other important issues such as abortion?
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly the victim in assisted suicide is so much more evident than in the case of abortion, and that's helpful. And I think there's so many people out there who now are telling their stories and saying how, they were pushed to assisted suicide. A lot of people are very depressed at the end of life. And, we talk about postpartum depression as well, and women being manipulated at that point, but also towards the end of life, people need so much support. And instead, they're getting suicide promotion, which is terrible.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around that. We do know that end-of-life decisions, they're difficult regardless of the situation. How can we as Catholics, prepare to make these decisions?
Yeah, so one of the things that's very important is there's a taboo about speaking about death. And a lot of individuals do not want to make advanced directives, to plan. And the most important thing that so many people call us up at the NCBC and they ask us, what should we be doing at this point? And the thing is, appoint a person as your medical proxy who agrees with your values, who has the same Catholic faith, understands what you would like at the end of life. And that is so helpful because if people are making these decisions at the very end, under huge, tremendous pressure, and there's so many options available, and medical professionals are telling them one thing and other people are telling them other things, and it's very, very difficult. And so to actually have a kind of a serene conversation about this, talk to individuals ahead of time is very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's really smart because it's a stressful time. You can't really think straight during that time.
There's been a lot of focus on the global movement promoting assisted suicide. I think, for example, of the suicide pods that we're seeing now in Western Europe. Can you talk a little bit about the international dimensions of this now?
Yeah, there is a very international component to the suicide and also euthanasia movement. Australia being one of the big focus countries, but also Switzerland. The Netherlands, of course, for many, many years was kind of the pioneer in all of this. Unfortunately, the United States and Canada now are really kind of center stage as well. But I would say that there's kind of a strong move, and it's almost like this kind of libertarianism, right? This idea of like, my will be done, not thy will be done. And people thinking, I just don't want to suffer. Life has no meaning if I'm not getting any pleasure out of it. They don't have a supernatural perspective, and they're like, we just want to end it all. And we want, to force the medical profession to help us do this.
Yeah, Dr. Meaney, how do we change that narrative?
Yeah, I think it's so important to say life has meaning, even if an individual is suffering, even if an individual is wounded, God loves them, their family should love them, the church loves them, and they really have purpose and meaning. And, I had a professor who liked to say, people say they don't want to be a burden. He says, I want to be a burden, right? Because actually it helps other people to love. It helps them to come and, and express their love, and children are always a burden, right, for their parents. And so it's natural that the children should take care of their parents.
I tell my children that all the time. I have to tell you that. I'm preparing them. They're teenagers.
Looking forward to being a burden, yes. Families are having to make really important ethical and moral decisions in crisis situations. What are some of the resources that the NCBC can offer them?
Yeah, so we have a little document called the End of Life Guide that's available at our website, which is very helpful. We also have this 24-hour hotline, so people could call us up, send us email, go to ncbcenter.org, and we have trained ethicists who can be in touch with them, help them, and it is very helpful to have someone who's had a lot of experience, who's not immersed in all the emotions and problems associated with this, to just tell them, what the church thinks, and not to tell them really what to do, but just to help them understand, clarify what the issues are and what the church thinks. And so many people are very, very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Dr. Meaney, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
God bless.